A very good evening to all of you and welcome to the news at 6. Just the start of the week and there's a lot that's making news already. We'll get you through all of that and all that's developing at this hour. I'm Tracy Shilshi and let's take it through the headlines first. Release of Kashmiri separatist Masarat Alam resounds in both houses of parliament. Prime Minister Modi says his government shares the outrage as opposition questions the BJP-PDP alliance in Jammu and Kashmir. But PDP justifies releasing Masarat, calls it a part of a move to create conducive climate to facilitate talks with separatists. Party insists it will not detain people illegally. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee meets Prime Minister Modi to demand relief from paying of interest on debts. This is the first time the two have met since Modi became Prime Minister. Prime Minister Modi to leave tomorrow on a 5-day visit to Seychelles, Mauritius and Sri Lanka. He'll be the first Indian Prime Minister visiting Sri Lanka in 28 years. And a huge shocker in the World Cup. England are knocked out of the tournament after losing to Bangladesh by 15 runs. Bangladesh are now through to the quarterfinals. Our top story, separatist leader Masarat Alam's release in Jammu and Kashmir resonated strongly in Parliament today as the opposition questioned the BJP's role as alliance partner with the PDP government in the state. But Prime Minister Narendra Modi insisted his government too was unhappy with developments, admitting it was a threat to national security. Here's a report.
सदन में और देश में जो आक्रोश है, उस आक्रोश में मैं भी मेरा स्वर मिलाता हूं.
Prime Minister Modi's response after his government was pushed to a corner over the release of separatist Masarat Alam in Jammu and Kashmir, but not before this. Parliament's first meeting after Masarat Alam walked free on Saturday, and as expected, a strong opposition ruckus from the start. A united opposition alleged Alam could not have been freed without the PDP consulting its state ally, the BJP, terming it another of a series of instances of conflicting ideologies within the Jammu and Kashmir government.
जो एंटी नेशनलिस्ट हैं, जो टेररिस्ट हैं, जिन्होंने 120 लोगों का मारने का पूरा प्रयास किया, ऐसे लोगों को अगर आप रिहा करते जाएंगे तो बहुत बड़ा इस देश में फिर कोई बचेगा नहीं और एक गंभीर मामला है, वो आकर स्टेटमेंट दे.
Definitely it is affecting the national interest, it is against the national interest, and it is a challenge to the national security of the country as a whole.
Parliamentary Affairs Minister Venkaiah Naidu's attempts to pacify the opposition benches went almost unheard as he assured that the Home Minister would respond. Rajnath Singh voiced concern at the release, citing the report submitted to the Home Ministry, saying the release was within legal parameters, assuring action after further queries were answered.
हम अभी पूरी तरह से इससे संतुष्ट नहीं हैं. हमने इसमें क्लैरिफिकेशन कुछ सीख किया है. मैं आपसे अनुरोध करना चाहता हूं और सभी इस सदन के संसद सदस्यों से भी अनुरोध करना चाहता हूं कि जो क्लैरिफिकेशन हम लोगों ने सीख किया है, वह क्लैरिफिकेशन प्राप्त हो जाने के बाद यदि आपका आदेश होगा तो फिर से मैं इसकी जानकारी यहां पर दूंगा.
Ultimately, the Prime Minister replied, stressing his party had no hand in the release, promising the BJP would not tolerate this move by the J&K ally.
जो कुछ भी गतिविधियां हो रही हैं, न वो भारत सरकार से मशवरा कर करके हो रही हैं, न भारत सरकार को जानकारी दे करके हो रही हैं. सरकार ऐसी किसी भी हरकतों को स्वीकार नहीं करती है. देश की एकता और अखंडता में कोई समझौता हमें मंजूर नहीं है.
It's been almost a controversy a day since the Mufti Muhammad Saeed government took oath less than a week back. Saeed's remarks on Pakistan to his remarks on Afzal Guru, and now this. Teething problems, or is the end of the road not far away? Pranav Goswami's report for Rajya Sabha television.
The Masarat Alam release issue also triggered uproar in the Rajya Sabha. The opposition termed the move anti-national and pressed for Prime Minister's reply on the issue. Under fire from the opposition members, the centre spurned allegations of compromising national security.
Cutting across party lines, opposition members confronted the government in parliament over the release of Hurriyat leader Masarat Alam by the PDP-BJP government in Jammu and Kashmir. Raising the issue during 0 hour, Congress leader Anand Sharma submitted a notice to suspend the business of the House under Rule 267 and discuss the matter.
प्रधानमंत्री जी स्वयं गए थे शपथ दिलाने, उसके तुरंत बाद ये कहा गया कि वहां पे जो कॉमन मिनिमम प्रोग्राम बना है, उसमें जो केंद्र में सत्ताधारी दल है और वहां पे जिसके साथ गठबंधन किया है कि वो वहां अलगाववादी हुर्रियत कॉन्फ्रेंस से बात करेंगे, कॉमन मिनिमम प्रोग्राम नहीं तय करता, हम क्या पाकिस्तान से बात करेंगे? वो राष्ट्र की विदेश नीति तय करती है, हमको उस पर नहीं है आपत्ति, पर कॉमन मिनिमम प्रोग्राम बीजेपी का और पीडीपी का अगर ये है तो ये देश इसको स्वीकार करने को तैयार नहीं है.
BSP, JDU and TMC also joined the chorus in denouncing Alam's release and slammed the BJP for aligning with the PDP in the state.
मेरा भारतीय जनता पार्टी को ये कहना है कि जो आपकी नीतियां और सिद्धांत हैं तो उनको सर्वोपरि रखते हुए जिस तरीके से वहाँ के मुख्यमंत्री वो गलत डिसीजन ले रहे हैं, अलगाववादी नेताओं को बढ़ावा दे रहे हैं, उनको रिहा कर रहे हैं, आतंकवादी ताकतों को वहाँ पे बढ़ावा दे रहे हैं, मैं समझती हूँ ठीक नहीं है. उनको सत्ता से समझौता नहीं करना चाहिए, अपनी नीतियों और सिद्धांतों को सर्वोपरि रखते हुए देश हित में वहाँ पर सरकार को चलाना चाहिए.
आपने 2 महीने तक ये काम किया और 2 महीने के बाद इसमें तत्काल विवाद होने लगा. इसके लिए आपको ही इस पर यानी अपनी तरफ से पहल करके बयान देना चाहिए था, जिससे कि देश में सुकून हो और देश में सही बात और सच्ची बात सबके लिए सामने आए.
The selfish convenience of politics has won over conviction. There was no conviction in that alliance. Now the BJP and the government have to come clear on this.
PDP member Mir Mohammad Fayaz backed the decision and criticized the Congress for raising the issue. He reminded the House that the PDP-Congress coalition in 2002 had released other Hurriyat leaders.
2002 में कांग्रेस और पीडीपी की जब सरकार बनी, उस वक्त हुर्रियत कॉन्फ्रेंस के जो लीडर गिलानी साहब, शबीर शाह साहब और जो बाकी यासीन मलिक, उस वक्त रिहा किया गया, किसी ने कोई बात नहीं की.
Responding to the apprehensions expressed by members, Leader of the House Arun Jaitley assured them that the government will not compromise on national security.
कई अन्य माननीय सदस्यों ने भी इस विषय को लेकर, क्योंकि विषय राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा के साथ जुड़ा हुआ है, अपनी चिंता व्यक्त की है. मैं ये स्पष्ट कर दूं कि जहां तक हमारी सरकार का सवाल है और हमारी पार्टी का भी सवाल है, राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा के विषय के साथ कभी भी हम लोग समझौता नहीं करेंगे.
Deputy Chairman PJ Kurian disallowed the motion to suspend the business, but Congress members continued to press for a statement from the Prime Minister and stormed into the well of the House, forcing adjournment of proceedings for 15 minutes.
House is adjourned up to 12:00 hours.
Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
All right. In fact, let's get you some more news from Parliament. And Lok Sabha started to debate the Land Acquisition Amendment Bill on Monday. During the debate, the government said that the amendments were necessary for the purpose of national security and industrial development. The government also expressed willingness to be flexible about the provisions of the bill, saying that the opposition's suggestions would be welcome. The opposition, meanwhile, accused the government of bringing in amendments just to help industrialists. The Congress said that the government was not only going against the poor and farmers, but also putting food security in jeopardy.
Today also honorable members from different sides, even my side also, they may express certain concerns. It is incumbent on the government of the day to take care of those concerns and see to it that these concerns are addressed too. That is the point which I am trying to make, sir. So it's not a unilateral decision taken by this government. It's a decision taken after proper consultation with the states as many as 28 to 30 states were present in meetings. They have expressed concerns. If you want, I can read state-wise also what each state has said. But at the same time, sir, I am not trying to score points saying that because that state said this like this state said like this, we are doing like this. So,
आपने कहा था कि इस अध्यादेश के पीछे कई कारण हैं। पहली बात, देश की सुरक्षा। दूसरी बात, किसानों को पूर्ण मुआवजा दिया जाएगा। और तीसरी बात, कुछ मामूली त्रुटियां हैं जिन्हें हमें हटाना होगा। इन तीनों चीजों का कोई प्रमाण नहीं है और राष्ट्रपति महोदय ने अपने गणतंत्र दिवस के भाषण में कहा, और मैं उनको कोट करना चाहता हूं, बिना पर्याप्त वाद विवाद एवं बहस के किसी कानून को लागू करना लोकतंत्र की स्वस्थ परंपरा नहीं कही जा सकती है।
So we have strong reservations about your move to include private hospitals and private education institutions for the purpose of becoming eligible for getting acre land. Even at the time of enactment of the 2013 Act, we have heard about the reported suspicious activities of various private sector players in acre land at throwaway prices from the poor to preempt the effect of this Act, which is now placed now.
In other news, West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee met Prime Minister Narendra Modi today asking for financial help for the state. This was the first official meeting between the two leaders since Modi took charge as Prime Minister last year. Barring an accident meeting at the Rashtrapati Bhavan in December, Mamata has avoided the PM in the past 9 months. During the meet, Modi assured Mamata full assistance from the centre to ease the debt burden on the state. The centre has already agreed to devolve 42% of the divisible pool of taxes to states for the next 5 years. In addition, the centre has decided to give West Bengal the royalty on coal and other minerals. This will provide a benefit of 1,600 crore rupees to the state annually. West Bengal will also get 11,200 crores from the coal blocks that have been auctioned so far, and there will even be more revenue in future.
चर्चा हुआ है, चर्चा का बाद में प्राइम मिनिस्टर जो कहा है वो कहा है कि ये बात सच है कि पश्चिम बंगाल को कर्जा सबसे ज्यादा है, देश में सबसे अधिक है, लेकिन तब भी एक बात है, इसका परिस्थिति में भी आप लोगों ने फाइनेंशियल डिसिप्लिन किया है फाइनेंस को, और आप लोगों ने बहुत बढ़िया काम किया है, और आप लोगों को फाइनेंस की परिस्थिति भी आप लोगों ने बहुत बदल किया है। आने वाला दिन भी आप लोगों ने बहुत सुधराएंगे जैसे आप लोग चल रहे हैं। हम लोग कोशिश करेंगे कि हमारा भी ऊपर बहुत सारे देश का कर्जा है, जैसे इंटरेस्ट का कर्जा है बहुत सारे स्टेट के लिए, तो हम कोशिश करेंगे मिलजुल के अगर कोई हल निकाल सकता है।
The situation in Dimapur showed signs of improvement today. The number of arrests in connection with the incident has gone up to 43 today. Curfew was lifted in Dimapur this morning, but markets and schools remain shut. The curfew was clamped since yesterday to maintain peace. Internet and SMS blackout in the state is also expected to end by this evening. Police said they were struggling to identify people directly involved in the murder of the under trial. The rape accused was lynched by a mob last week, sparking widespread protests in the region. And now let's take a look at what else is making news across the country in Nationwide. The benchmark indices went to a tizzy amid fears of a rate hike by the US Fed Reserve. The BSE Sensex fell over 600 points and breached the 29,000 level, tracking weakness across global stocks, while the broader Nifty slumped over 181 points to an intraday low of 8,756. Swine flu continues to spread across India with 55 more fatalities from the disease reported, taking the total death toll to 1,370. The number of people who have contracted the virus has now crossed the 25,000 mark. Gujarat recorded the maximum number of deaths at 322, while Rajasthan has reported 321 deaths. The Supreme Court has issued a notice to former Tamil Nadu Chief Minister J. Jayalalitha for removal of the public prosecutor in the disproportionate assets case. The notice was issued on the plea of a DMK leader. The petitioner told the bench that the public prosecutor Bhavani Singh's credentials are doubtful and he should be replaced. The case is to come up now on the 18th of March. Social activist and anti-corruption crusader Anna Hazare is planning a 1,100-kilometer-long foot march to mount pressure against the land bill. Anna met farmers in Wardha district to chalk out the strategy for the march, that is to start from Sevagram village in Maharashtra to New Delhi. The dates for the march are yet to be finalized. Kashmir witnessed the season's heaviest snowfall today. The arterial Jammu and Kashmir National Highway remains closed for the second consecutive day. A white blanket covered the entire capital Srinagar and the mercury dipped further. Srinagar has received snowfall of 18 centimeters while Gulmarg recorded 1 feet of snow. The residents hailed the bout of snowfall as a solution to crop, power and water problems. And still ahead, Australian police reject the theory of racist attack in the murder of Indian IT professional. Details ahead.
Separatist Masrat Alam out of jail. Protests across the political spectrum. Allied BJP too voices outrage, claims it was never consulted. How will the PDP hang on to this one? Watch The Big Picture at 6:30 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
अभिव्यक्ति और अधिकारों की अस्मिता। औरत की आजादी कितनी किताबी और कितनी सच, उसके लिए बने नियमों का जिक्र तो शास्त्रों से लेकर संविधान के कानून में भी है, लेकिन ये सब कितने सार्थक और सकारात्मक है। नारी समानता और समाज में औरत का मकाम। देखिए अस्मिता में खास पेशकश सिर्फ राज्यसभा टीवी पर।
Welcome back. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will begin his 3-nation 5-day visit to Seychelles, Mauritius and Sri Lanka on Tuesday. Talking about the visit, he tweeted that the Indian Ocean region was very important for India and so it was necessary to strengthen relations, and that India is also going to focus on encouraging a process of reconciliation with Sri Lanka.
As Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits Sri Lanka on March 13th and 14th, all eyes will be on finding a solution to the humanitarian issue of India's fishermen's rights. Sri Lankan Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe made a controversial remark last week, threatening Indian fishermen may be shot if they entered Lankan waters. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj discussed the matter with Wickremesinghe in Colombo on Saturday.
President Sirisena यहाँ आए थे और जब उनके विदेश मंत्री यहाँ आए थे, प्रेसिडेंट सिरिसेना की प्रधानमंत्री से मुलाकात में और मेरी विदेश मंत्री जी के मुलाकात में इन दोनों विषयों को हमने बहुत प्रभावी ढंग से उठाया था।
We recognize today that this is an issue. It is a livelihood issue which clearly has larger humanitarian aspects to it, and we have to sit down. We expect to sit down and work out with the Sri Lankans how we are going to handle this to our mutual satisfaction.
Greater autonomy for Sri Lankan Tamils is also going to be an issue in focus. India has often urged Sri Lanka to provide greater autonomy to its Tamil population, which is one of the main issues of the reconciliation process.
Our role has been really to encourage that process happening, and we continue to be encouraging. There's a whole history out here, which sort of right now centers around the implementation of the 13th Amendment.
Talking about the other nations he will visit before Sri Lanka, Prime Minister Modi has said India's relationship with Seychelles was a very special one, built on the foundation of mutual trust and shared values. The Prime Minister also hoped his Mauritius visit would be very special. He tweeted that the relationship between the two countries had been strong and the two countries would work together to further these ties. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
India today took up with Australia the murder case of an Indian woman professional in Sydney. Prabha Arun Kumar was stabbed to death on Saturday just 300 meters away from her home as she spoke to her husband over the phone. Australian officials have so far rejected the racial attack theory, assuring that the perpetrators will be brought to book at the earliest.
CCTV footage of the murder.
Software professional Prabha Arun Kumar, on work tour from India, was brutally stabbed to death in Sydney on Saturday evening as she returned home from work. She is said to have been speaking to her husband over the phone as the attack happened. Back home, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj has voiced deep anguish, assuring that the government is in close touch with the consulate in Sydney.
Our Consul General spoke to the New South Wales Premier, Mr. Mike Baird, and requested him to pursue this matter with the utmost importance.
Local Indian leaders pacify worries over the attack being a race crime.
बहुत शोकजनक घटना है ये। इसके पीछे क्या कारण रहे हैं, क्या रेशियल अटैक था या ये कोई टारगेटेड अटैक है, ये तो इन्वेस्टिगेशन चल रही है, उसके बाद पता चलेगा।
Australian officials condemned the attack, assuring a comprehensive probe into the crime. A special detective squad has been formed to investigate the murder. Setting aside the racial crime theory is paramount.
Now, we are considering all options at this point in time, but it's very early in the investigation, so it's difficult for me to assume one thing or another, and we aren't speculating at all. But we have nothing to suggest at this point in time that this is a racially motivated attack.
This is not the first time Indians have been attacked in Australia. In 2010, a few racist attacks were reported, leading to a diplomatic row between two countries. Authorities on both sides hope this one doesn't blow up that way. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In other international news, inspectors from the UN nuclear watchdog are in Tehran to hold talks with Iraqi officials on Iran's nuclear program ahead of the March deadline. The International Atomic Energy Agency said Iran has still not addressed specific issues on terms and conditions for the final agreement, which includes questions on alleged research activities. Iran rejected the accusations as baseless while promising to work with the IAEA to end the nuclear standoff with the West. US Secretary of State John Kerry and his Iranian counterpart Mohammad Javad Zarif are expected to meet on the 15th of March in Switzerland to hold further talks. Iran, United States, France, Germany, Russia, China and Britain are trying to seal an agreement by the end of this month.
جواب دادن جمهوری اسلامی ایران نمیتونه یک مسیر بی‌پایانی رو داشته باشه. به هر حال باید انتهایی داشته باشه و این انتهای این سوالات باید برای ما مشخص باشه. آژانس هم اخیراً داره این مطلب رو خودش تکرار میکنه که این روند نمیتونه روند بلند مدت و بی‌پایان.
Let's get you more international news now on Global Buzz. German Chancellor Angela Merkel is in Japan for a two-day visit to discuss reconciliation efforts after World War II. Merkel spoke in fact, on the need to squarely confront its wartime past, but also pointed out that neighboring countries must do their part to achieve reconciliation. This comes as Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is about to issue a statement to mark the 70th anniversary of Japan's defeat in World War II later in August. Fierce clashes were reported between Kurdish forces and Islamic State in the Iraqi town Kirkuk today. Kurds are backed by the US-led coalition against the IS. Kurdish governor said that they are in an attempt to drive away militants from the city. Intense fighting was also reported between Peshmerga and IS in northwest of Kirkuk. In a landmark report, the International Cycling Union has claimed that doping culture still exists in the sport. The report also accused the former International Cycling Union's bosses of outright corruption. Earlier in January, a committee was set up to investigate how cycling lost its way during the 1990s and 2000s. And now in a thrilling encounter today, Bangladesh knocked England out of the World Cup with a 15-run victory at Adelaide Oval. Bangladesh scored 275 for 7 after being sent in to bat first. Mohammad Mahmudullah scored 103 off 138 balls to score the first World Cup century by a Bangladeshi batsman. Mushfiqur Rahim also contributed with 89. In reply, England failed to consolidate partnerships and was bowled out for 260 runs in 48.3 overs. Rubel Hussain took 4 wickets while Mashrafe Murtaza and Taskin Ahmed took 2 wickets each. With this win, Bangladesh has now secured a place in the quarterfinals with 7 points.
Oh, it's high in the air, it's to the short boundary, goes all the way, 6.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of News at 6, but we are leaving you with visuals of 2 Swiss pilots embarking on an attempt to fly around the world on a solar-powered airplane. The trip is expected to last 5 months and is aimed at promoting clean technology in the aviation sector. Thanks so much for joining us.